Welcome to No Question About That. This is the midweek pod with me, Ed, and you, Tom. How's it going, Tom?
Oh, much better after that last minute goal. I thought we were going to be doing this very late, to be honest. I thought, is this going to go to penalties? Are we going to? Yeah, but thank God for Harry Maguire and the dodgy linesman.
Yeah, I was thinking of you. Well, it's a good job, one, that the VAR didn't exist, and two, that Lino really desperately wanted to get away for his Friday night in the pub or whatever he was spending.
I mean, it's a free kick, right? So it should be like the easiest thing to like just look down the line and realize, oh yeah, that's offside. There's no excuse of not being able to keep up with play. We'll take it, but yeah, dear me.
I haven't seen a replay yet because we're recording this straight after the final whistle. But in real time, it looked like there were like 4 of them off.
Our feed showed a replay, and it looked. Yeah, I think they only showed 1 before the final whistle, but he looked off on that, maybe 2 or 3 yards. And you're thinking, oh my God, got away with one there. But I mean, like you say, it feels like I don't think anyone wanted to watch that for any longer, to be honest. Like there was no one watching that being like, oh yeah, I need another half an hour of this beauty.
Oh man. I mean, it was much better in the second half.
Oh yeah, it was, yeah.
Let's give some credit to United. Actually had 11 shots in the second half to the 2 in the first half. I couldn't remember which 2 they were. Patrick Dorgu had over the bar.
Right foot, yeah.
Was there anything? Apparently there was another shot. I do not remember it. I mean, that was... I know we talk about, and so often we're like, oh, that's a new low. That's the worst we've ever seen. And Newcastle was I'm not sure anything has ever been worse than Newcastle. And
I took my girlfriend to that game, and it was the first time she'd ever been to Old Trafford, and she was like, why isn't the ball coming to our side of the half? I was like, yeah, this is United.
Wow.
But yeah, this was...
romantic times you picked with your girlfriend.
I know, it was the night before New Year's Eve as well, so it really was romantic. But yeah, this was against the team... No, the last 10 games in the Premier League, no team's taken less points than Leicester. Like, they've been awful, like really awful. You look at their team tonight, the team they're putting out, and you think, these boys are awful. And they didn't play us off the park in the first half, but they were the better team.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much of a benchmark with Leicester. They are really bad. They're probably going to go down. Poor old Rude is going to be in the job for another couple of months. They'll get relegated and he'll get sacked in the summer, which is a shame, really, because, you know, Rude's a nice chap and all of that. Ruben Amorim talked about him before the game, said he just couldn't put Rude down to the list because he couldn't put him ahead of my guys, is what he said. So yeah. I suppose that was honest. And all that, yeah, but that was just dreadful. He's
nothing but honest, is he?
Well, yeah, to a fault sometimes, and sometimes it's really clear. He talked about Marcus Rashford as well beforehand, and he said, "Marcus doesn't understand what I want to do in training or what I want him to do in the games." Or did he say didn't understand? Doesn't agree? I can't remember.
Yeah, doesn't understand my type of football or something like that. Yeah,
I mean. I was thinking about that in the first half. I was like, do any of them? I don't understand it. Because it was going from the right-sided or left-sided central defenders out to the right or left inverted wing-backs, out to the right or left of the front three. And it was this like horseshoe of like absolutely nothing.
I'd love to see the passing map of... Dalot and Dorgu in that first half. Like it was just like you say, every single time it went into them, because they're both on the wrong side, they just naturally turned into like play it to their other centre half. So it's I like Amorim. I love the way he talks. Everyone does. We're all caught in his orbit of charisma, but like I just don't understand the inverted fullback thing, especially tonight with a new guy who has been in trained 3 or 4 training sessions maybe, and has been playing left back all season. I just don't understand why you just wouldn't, even for this game. Like I understand the dogma, I understand what you're doing, but you have to be pragmatic to some degree, surely. And I think to throw a guy, a young lad, in his first start at Old Trafford at right wing back, and then drag him off at half time. I think that's just rubbish. I obviously I don't want to get on his back or anything, but I just think that's rubbish. I think it's a way to kill a guy's confidence.
Right. Every time I think about this with Amorim, I'm like, am I being an old guy shouting clouds here? Like, I'm constantly thinking, what is it I'm missing and don't understand? Because I don't want to be the dumb footballer pundit who goes, 3-4-3 will never work. I mean, it's I like, because clearly there's more to just the system than the numbers, right? It's not a telephone number. But I'm looking at that going, what are we trying to achieve with inverted wing backs when they go back and to the side and back and to the side and back and to there's some thinking here, I guess, but I don't get it. What exactly he's trying to achieve. And the one time Patrick Dorgu broke forward where he just about caught it from going out, he went with his left foot to keep it in, managed to do it. And then he went with the right foot and it was a lame cross.
Yeah.
And you're just like, that's what we want to see. But on the other side, so we can whip those balls in. I mean, we've all seen the same comps, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I just couldn't understand it today. When I saw it kind of on the team sheet, you just assume that he's gonna, because the thing is, it's not like Dallow's been great on the left wing back. He's been turgid. He's been so bad. So it's not like you go, we brought in this left wing back we've been screaming out for all season. Please, can we have, even under Ten Hag, we need a left-sided fullback. We get one in, and then somehow we're still playing Dallo at left wing back. I could not believe it. I mean, I'm laughing, but in that first half, I was not laughing. I was screaming. Someone sent me a post on Blue Sky, which made me laugh a lot. He said he had to be taken out. His wife had to take him out of the pub at half time because he was losing his mind that much. I think that speaks to a lot of people.
Yeah. Yes. It's the horseshoe of sadness, isn't it? It's just like awful back, over to the other side, back. And I'm sure there's something more to it, but we don't see those patterns that we saw at Sporting. Like where we saw it in the second half, actually. The Garnacho's introduction and what he was doing, trying to run at players in the cutback. Now, he was doing that all on his own. Normally, from what I've seen, is that you'd get the supporting left wing back or right wing back, depending on which side it's on. And they create the overloads with the wide forwards, and you get the cutback for the player to run onto and score, right? That's how we got our equalising goal. There were probably 3 other occasions where Garnacho's gone on the outside and cut a ball back and there was no one there. And it's kind of the goals I remember seeing of Sporting, and like it seemed to be the set pattern, and we see it so infrequently in this side. And whether that's Amorim's just not had enough time yet to instill these patterns, or because he's talked about it being the most difficult thing, or he's just overthinking stuff, because it doesn't half feel like he's at like Pep lobotomy stage, like trying all sorts of weird stuff. And you're like, again, old man shouting at clouds going, I know. Can we just do some basics here first?
I know. This again, I posted on Blue Sky. I feel like this is going to create a culture war at United, Amorim, because it is. I feel myself in that same position as you. Like, I understand that this guy is a top football brain, and there's clearly methods behind some of the madness, but like there's too much madness for me. And I'm sure, like you say, like there's going to be a lot of people maybe listening to this pod and going, he's doing it for this reason, blah, 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 and it's just not coming off. But like, I don't really see it personally, but it's also, you've got to just kind of put some round pegs in round holes, especially like a new guy who's just joined the team. Like, you either don't play Dorgu from the start, or you play him in his best position, in my opinion. I just feel like that's kind of just simple, even just for his confidence, really. But to play him at right wing back, and then I also didn't think he played that badly, to be honest. I didn't think he played that badly to be shipped off at half-time. Obviously, Garnacho was amazing, changed the game, won us the game in a lot of respects, bringing him on. But, I mean, I just feel like I don't know, even take Dallo off or something. It just felt needlessly harsh. And I know, like, Amorim probably has an arm around him. He's got his charisma. He'll kind of soften it out or whatever. And Amorim's always talking about how honest he is with his players and people respect that, etc., etc. I just think this team clearly has very, very little confidence. When a new guy comes into the team, you want to keep his confidence high at least. Maybe it'll have a knock-on effect of others, but yeah, I don't think it's done in the world of good right now, to be fair.
No, I mean, there's an endpoint that Amorim is trying to get to. We think it's taking an awful long time for at least the attacking side of it to come together. I know that, like, Xerxes is not a natural goal scorer. He got one tonight in a number 9 position, following up. That's great. We don't see it very often for him. Højlund, his confidence has never been lower. I don't think, which is really hard. I mean, he's got no goals in 15 games now, I think it is. Probably should have had one where Garnacho could have just squared it to him, and instead he tried to shoot the near post. And
that was
very odd, bad choice there. I mean, so we've got all sorts of like attacking challenges, and then add to that like over complexity, and I just feel like perhaps Amorim isn't helping himself. I know he wants to get to. There's an end state he's trying to get to with this team, but feels like simplification of it right now would be the right stepping stone. And this is me, like a dude who speaks on the internet, right? I'm not pretending that I'm a world-class coach that we hope Amorim will turn out to be, but like loads of complexity, no real patterns, doesn't even seem to allow for what we had in previous iterations of, you know, a bunch of brilliant players could do some brilliant thing and get us out of a mess, right? We don't even get that really now.
No.
So,
and that's what we've got. I think with Garnacho, and he's best as well when he's facing up that right back, and that's the position that he got into loads and loads of times today. It was basically a case of get Garnacho the ball in the left wing position, and then try and beat his man, and like we would have that in a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. Like, it doesn't have anything to do with the formation whatsoever. And also, again, sorry to harp back to the wing back thing, but I feel like it's a really important point. Malassi has been playing at left wing back and he's left footed. I don't understand like tonight's move. It's not great. And so again, playing like Garnacho, like put him on the bench in what feels like today is our most important. The cup games are our most important games. And I feel like Garnacho has to start, but then it's also this thing that maybe he doesn't fully trust Garnacho because of what happened before. But like you say, we've got to have more quality players in the team because the formation's not working.
Yeah.
And we don't have that many quality players now. Rashford's been binned off as well. Like, there's no players who can kind of do something out of nowhere. Like Xerxes did really well when he came on, but a lot of his stuff is 40 yards away from goal. Bruno is playing really deep, so he's having less of an impact on the game in an attacking sense. Mainu, he did well there a couple of about 8 days ago in the Europa League game in that 10 position, but he looked a bit lost, I thought, tonight. And then Højlund is just, he's almost like he's trying too hard, but then his touch is just terrible. And I was comparing it to Gyökeres earlier in the season, saying, Højlund's age, Gyökeres was in Bundesliga too, but like the more he's kind of playing under Amorim, the more backwards he's going.
Feels like it, and unfortunately, because of his cost, it's very hard to get rid of him. I mean, they're so tight on PSR. They binned off Anthony and Rashford for what feel like marginal financial gains, and it was enough this this PSR period, right? So, it's in a rolling 3-year cycle. So 24, 25, last 23, 24 was extremely tight, right? To the point that they basically made up a COVID impairment, basically, in order to get through that one. It's extremely tight here because of the losses made over the last 3 years, and binning off Rashford and Malacia and Anthony has just about paid for Dorgu to come into the squad, right? So it's incredibly tight. And then at the same time on the pitch, I feel like we're destroying the confidence of a lot of players to the point where you can't get rid of them. Like Højlund, almost impossible to get rid of him, just because even if you wanted to, if you were like, okay, you don't feel like after 2 years he's really proving that he's this standard of player. Nothing against him as a person, really. Looks like a young player that just needs a different route path to the top if he's going to get there. There's just no way you could get rid of him without an impairment charge. It'd make our PSR position worse, right? So, and then you look right throughout the squad, and the same things seems to be happening to so many players. Losing confidence, playing out of position. We've got Mainu played at 6, 8, 10, false 9, just in the last 2 months, basically. Garnacho in and out of the sides. Bruno high up the pitch, now deeper alongside Uarte. All sorts of changes across the back three. Obviously, we got this persistence with fullbacks in wing-back positions, or now inverted for whatever reason. I just, bright young coach, feels like he's trying too many different things right now. It's having negative impacts on the squad. You'll get to the summer, and the idea was it would be super difficult. Storm's coming. We're going to have a really hard time. And then we get to the summer, we make a few more squad changes with the little money that is available until we get rid of a lot of the very high earners. And then we'll get to the final state of what Amorim wants and develop from there. Except we're going to have a squad full of players that he has no confidence in. The players
and they potentially don't have
system.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the fans don't have confidence in, and there's a limit to how bad it can get, right?
Exactly,
fans are very much on Amorim's side. They're singing his name. You just hope it doesn't turn for him while these performances and results are really bad. Now, got away with one tonight because Garnacho's pulled off a brilliant run cutback, and it's Højlund's made the run across the front of the defender to the near post, which he doesn't normally, right? Made that run, and it's made the tap in for Xerxes, and then we've won a free kick, and Bruno's floated one in for Harry running from 4 yards offside to nod it in, to the point that everyone's just looking around going, okay, there's a flag coming. There wasn't one. And it's just, I know I'm rambling a bit, but we just got away with another pretty dreadful performance. And just these add up and add up and add up. And at some point, we've got to feel the green shoots recovery here, no?
Yeah, exactly. You look at the game tonight and you just think this has got to be a good performance. At home to, like I say, pretty much the worst Premier League team in the league at the moment. Because even Southampton are kind of showing a little bit of a resurgence. They won at the weekend and they were actually okay against us. They were actually okay against Forest, blah, blah, blah. Against a team like that, you just want to see more. And I know we won the game, last minute goal in a different era. We would have been celebrating, hooper and hollering, yes, just win by any means necessary, blah, blah, blah. But even Amorim's changed his mind on this as well, because earlier in the season when I think we beat Ipswich, it might have been the first game that he actually had, he was talking about, we won, but it's all about performance. And then now, a few weeks ago, we got a lucky win against Southampton, I think it was, and he was talking about, it's all about the wins at this stage. And so he's kind of, what do we want? And I know we want to win games. Obviously, it's great that we're staying in the cup, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, it would have been an absolute catastrophe if we'd have gone out tonight. But you can't. I almost think that every United fan who's listening to this, every United fan that's out there must be thinking exactly the same thing. How have we not seen any difference? How have we not seen any the managerial bounce has just been absolutely zero, and the decisions that Amorim's making as well just don't seem logical. And and like you say, hopefully we've got the pain threshold to get us through to the summer. But I also kind of think, what historical precedence is there that a team under a new manager who've been largely dreadful after he took over in the season completely turn it around in the summer? Because I know, like, yeah, Klopp, when he first took over at Liverpool, didn't have an outstanding first season, but the changes actually came pretty quickly. And I know the base was different, like he didn't have to completely transform the team there. But I'm really scrambling to find any historical precedents for what we hope that will happen. And I'm not saying that it won't, but like it's completely correct. Like you say, the confidence in the players is going to be shattered. The confidence in the manager is going to be pretty low. And the fans and the media are massively out to get us, because if we lose 3 of our first 5 games or something next season, Amorim's going to be like, because everyone's going to have the same story written, right? Like, yeah, this was the time for Amorim to change and turn it around. We're giving him a blank new slate, blah, blah, blah. But the knives will be out quickly enough, like 100%.
Yeah.
And I think the fans will probably as well. Like, and I know this will take time. It's supposed to take time, etc., etc. But it's probably Ineos's fault in the first place for appointing him halfway through the season and insisting to import him. We could have just had Ruud for the season. We wouldn't have done any worse. We actually probably would have done better, because we kind of kept the same system that was shelling goals. But I mean, when Ruud was manager, when we played Leicester, like, we battered them twice.
We did. I think the theory with the mid-season change was like recognition one that made a terrible mistake in keeping Ten Hag. That's last summer. I mean, the people they were looking at didn't want to come. They weren't available. He was default, basically. He kept his job by default, maybe a bit of emotion with the cup win and all of that. And, you know, we said at the end of last season that Ten Hag had no credit left in the bank, and that as soon as he started losing these games in the new season, that the pressure would be immediately on, right? I think it was not like a great leap of genius to say that. That was obvious. And firing Ten Hag was a recognition that the new ownership group had made a terrible mistake. And maybe it was partly to do with Dan Ashworth and Omar Barada coming in late and their gunning leave and all of that. Maybe we can give them some benefit of the doubt there. But, you know, either way, bad mistake. And they decided to correct it by taking the pain now. That's the theory, at least. I guess what I'm saying is, like, what's the threshold of pain we're going to accept in terms of performances and results? Because the difference, and like, performances get the fans on your side, right? You know, if there's positive performances and the results aren't so great, we'll be disappointed, but you'll not see Old Trafford booing at halftime and booing at the end of a game. Like, there'll be more patience. If you have, like, it feels like you know where we're headed, right? And a performance like that tonight, we got the result, but the performance was so dreadful for much of the game that it's really hard to go, and next week's going to be great for sure. Yeah, no doubt. Like, feeling confident now, feel less confident, even though we won. And that's the problem. And it's not like I'm making any like conclusions about Amorim or predictions for the future. It's really hard to gain the credit in the bank that he needs as a new young manager in his first job out of Portugal, implementing this new system with a club that is in perpetual crisis and doesn't have loads of money to go fix the problems, right? He's not going to be able to ship out 8, 9, 10 players and bring in 8, 9, 10 players, right? There isn't going to be the money until we get all the high earners off the wage book, restructure, which is what we're looking to do. 2 years of buying younger players with not loads and loads of money. And then you're hoping we qualify for Europe, higher up the table, and can start generating the cash to make real big transformational change, right? And that's the strategy and the approach and the pattern. The problem is, if you've finished 12th, 13th, 14th, not only is it £3 million per place, so it really adds up, Sixth place to 13th place, lot of money on the line there. And also, I don't think you can just go switch it on for the cup games. Like, you're dreadful in the league, and you're just going to suddenly turn it on for a big cup game in Europe or the FA Cup, and especially Europe, right? Because that's the one that gets us into the Champions League.
That's the main competition.
Winning the Europa League, it's not only revenue now this season, it's a guaranteed about £40 million to get into the Champions League. Assuming you can get into the top 24, you're probably looking at 50. If you get into the semi-finals or final, it's 100, right? Versus no Europe at all, which is what is, let's be honest, the likely outcome this season. Like, the difference is like night and day. It's the 2 extra players, 3 if you're buying younger players. Yeah, it's the ability to attract players without having to pay a massive premium on their wages, which has got us into the trouble now. And that's all to say, he needs some performances alongside dodgy results like this. Just desperately needs it, for him, for the team, for the fans, for the whole club.
But to me, he's being too dogmatic, and people might disagree with me there. And I know the argument for the disagreement is, we've tried this before under Ten Hag. He ripped up his tactics after the 3rd game, and then all of a sudden we were just kind of game to game pragmatic. We weren't building to something new. We weren't building to something that would take the ceiling of what we can achieve to a greater degree than just going from game to game. Obviously, completely get that, but you have to have pragmatism in your system. Like, you can't just be as dogmatic to play a system which doesn't fit almost any single player in that team, apart from the back 3 essentially, and probably Ugarte. Like, they are probably the only ones who really look comfortable in this system. And that's what it's almost like it has to be like black or white. It has to be like dogmatic, or it has to be fully pragmatic. There can be a place in the middle there, which is a happy medium, which I think that he has to find right now, because, like you say, it's really important, not just in terms of all of the financials that you've just detailed. That is really important as well. But it's also the confidence that you have to be able to instill and build before you get into the summer, where you can really start to hopefully make some fundamental, massive changes. Because I just don't see what the use is of just playing like this every single time, every single game. Because if it's not been working for 3-4 months now, like, we're not seeing any type of tangible improvements. We're actually seeing us maybe get worse in some respects. Like, what is to say that it's going to improve in the next 2, 3, 4 months when there are going to be massive games out there? I think I just don't really understand why he's being so stubbornly dogmatic. He's talked about, I really want to be true to myself. I really want to not veer away from my principles, etc. But there's being truthful to yourself, but there's also lying to yourself, which I think he might end up having to do that to try and make him kind of say, oh yeah, I'm just going to do what I do. But I just don't. I don't. We've kind of gone from one complete extreme to the other, and I guess maybe that's what got him the job. Maybe that's what he said in the interview. But things have to change, and also, like, to pick up on the point about moving players on, that we're not going to be able to bring in 9 players this summer, etc., etc. My fear is, though, the more we got the team, and considering our transfer history, the more we're just going to weaken the whole team. Like, you look at the team now, especially in an attacking sense, there's such little quality, and it's on display every single week. And that is my fear, when we just keep bringing in these players that, like Dorgu, for example, might be good, might be quite average, a bit like Malacia. 20 million for a left wing back's not a lot of money in this day and age. Whereas you look at someone, I know my Hungarian roots, blah, 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 shout at me if you want. But you would go for someone like Kirkes, who's best in class. He's proven in the Premier League also actually, I think, maybe the same age or a little bit younger. And that's what we should be signing. We shouldn't be signing. I'm not saying that Dorgu's not going to work out, but my fear is that we're just going to sign these players a bit like Højlund, a bit like Xerxes, middle of the roadish type players for still healthy sums, and we almost like buy it. What's the phrase? Buy it twice. Buy it cheap. Buy it twice, kind of thing. That's almost what we're doing, but we're buying it cheap, and we're buying it like 4 or 5 times at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we used to shop at Harrods, and now we're shopping on Temu, aren't we? And we're just hoping you find that one seller that's got the little diamond. Before we came on air, I was like, I bought some crap headphones off Temu for $10, and they were great. I was like, what? It never happens. Normally they fall apart as soon as you open the box. And I mean, I understand the fears, of course, because every time we buy another player, we seem to regress because our history over the past 10 years is just absolutely dreadful, right? Look at the 10-year roadmap, and I know we've got new management and we're supposed to be making better decisions as a result. It's all about supporting the manager with the best team, buying elite executives to make all the right decisions around the manager and kind of get the strategy. But big picture, last 10 years, we've spent £1.2 billion net in the transfer market. Add another couple of billion in wages to that, and then you can add another 300 million to the Glazers in dividends and management fees, right? Just absolutely pissing money up the wall on absolute dross for no benefit whatsoever. In fact, for every time a new transfer window comes around, we seem to go backwards, And so I get you. Maybe Patrick Dorgu is a fantastic player, and in a couple of years' time, we'll be going 25 million for that kid. Wow, what a bargain! What a buy! Yeah, like as I said, we've all seen the same comps. There seems like some raw stuff there that is to work with. Unfortunately, we kind of said that about Højlund, didn't we? And we were like, well, Xerxes, young player of the year in Italy, we kind of said that about him, and. Wasn't it brilliant when Kobbie Mainoo came into the side and like such composure on the ball and in tight spaces, and like this is the number 8 we've been asking for. No, apparently not.
Thiago, for God's sake.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not to shit on these young players.
No.
I hope they all come good, but. So many of them in one team, in a failing team, is a really difficult strategy to pull off. You've got to pull it off really well. I mean, you brought up the Klopp analogy before, and Liverpool were crap for 2 seasons under Klopp, and then he found the greater fool to take Coutinho off his hands, and that he was able to buy the keeper and Van Dijk and Robertson and all these players and completely transform his side in his image. Now, is there a greater fool out there that wants to take one of our players off us for ridiculous amounts of money? I don't see it. I mean, unfortunately, the players we really want to get rid of are the ones on massive wages or a massive fee. So massive wages in the case of Rashford. There may be a solution if he does well at Villa. I hope for his sake and for United's sake that he does really well at Villa. And maybe someone will take Anthony. I mean, Betis are paying 75% of his wages, but there's no fee. Like we would be looking to not take an impairment on PSR for £30 million in the summer. Can't see it. Just can't see anyone spending that money. And so we're trapped between a rock and a hard place here, wanting to move players on. Can't really afford to do it. Can't afford to buy the players we really want before we get rid of the players we don't want. And then you throw into that sort of nightmare scenario, honestly, for the next 2 years, the fact that the manager is really, really trying to implement his system in a very dogmatic way. And the pragmatic piece to this is not to give up on all his principles. It's like, got a brand new left wing back who's left-footed, play him on the fucking left. Just give him a chance for his first game. Not asking too much here. We're not asking for you to give up on your principles. Just give the kid a chance. I mean, amidst all this other shit. Anyway, about 35 minutes in, and we've been doing a lot of moaning, Tom. We did actually win a game. It just doesn't feel like it, does it?
It really doesn't, because it's a massive get out of jail free cards. Like with with not having VAR in this competition, because if we have VAR in this competition, we're still watching the game right now, and we're still complaining about. I'd have probably gone out maybe, but like football is such a game of small margins that we don't get that free kick, or Bruno overhits it a little bit, or the linesman literally makes the correct decision, and then we go into extra time, deservedly probably. Like we turned it on last half an hour, excellent, and maybe if you were like an eternal optimist, you would go, well, we were always going to be able to dominate the last 30 minutes because we tired them out, or like Leicester had been working so hard. I think that's what Amorim said after the Southampton game. Like Southampton were always going to drop off because they were like pressing so much, they were working so hard. You could potentially make the argument, but I mean, we should be dominating this type of game against Leicester, and it just shows just how far we've fallen. If we are taking any positives from that game, because even like 3-4 years ago, we'd have been looking at that game and being like, well, we got away with one there. Like, that was awful. Like, but this is just same old. But we actually won a home game. I mean, I think of our last 16 goals, I think it is, we've scored one of them in the first half. Like, it's like this consistent thing from Amorim that he's not getting things right from the start, and whether that's through tweaking to give players an opportunity, or it's obviously to keep players out of the red zone, to keep them match fit, etc. Get all that kind of, but I get all that to a point, but how can this be happening that we don't score goals in the first half? How could this be happening? We don't start games quickly. How can this be happening that he keeps making the wrong tactical decisions from the start over and over again? I don't want to just jump on Amorim, but because there are huge problems. Quality is just one of the big things. Like, forward planning is just one of the big things. Recruitment is one of the big things. But Amorim is making mistakes as well, and I think I just can't wait for the end of the season. Like, I know this is a podcast, and you're going to have to listen to this every single week, guys. But it's just, I think we're all probably in the same boat. We just
four times a week at this point.
But we just want to get to the end of the season and then just see what it looks like, because at this moment in time, it's just Lee Dixon, I hate put it right, it's turgid stuff. It really is. And maybe we can, like a bit like last season, get really, really lucky in the cups. Hopefully we get a draw against someone who's really good away, because then we actually might turn up and play a game. And then in Europa League, it'll be an absolute miracle if we ended up with a trophy, and we're probably going to end up with about 45 points in the league or something like that. And just hoping that we can get to the end of the season, because I really want to see what this guy can do. Because every time I see a press conference, every time I see an interview after a game, there's so much in there. Maybe it's 80-90%. It's like, he's the man. There might be a thing that slips out of place, and I'm like, okay, I don't really agree with that. But and then you just see it on the pitch, and you're like I feel like we were gaslit under Ten Hag. I feel like this guy's gaslighting us in a completely different way. Like, yeah, I mean, he must lap up the ladies and then completely not deliver in bed.
Great talker, no skill sets. Yeah. Oh dear. I mean 45 minutes of boredom. So is that worse than like 2 minutes of chaos we had under Ten Hag or whatever it was?
It's a good analogy.
I don't know if it's a good analogy. It's a rather disturbing one thinking about it. But
it's fine.
All right. Well, we did actually win a game somehow.
Yeah, we're still in the cup. We're still
in the cup.
We're still going to win the double. So here we go.
Yeah, the plastic double. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're at this stage of the season. We're looking ahead to like how dreadful could it be? I mean, at least City aren't going to win anything, but unfortunately, that does mean that Liverpool are probably going to win the Premier League. They've been the best side in Europe this season. They're already into the League Cup final. That could be pretty dreadful. I mean, the bright point, like the thing I'm clinging to, is something will click. I mean, this squad is the squad, right? At least we haven't got mega injuries. Obviously, there's Martinez. Looks like he's out for a very long time. Very sad for him and for the club. Luke Shaw, another different problem. Who knows? Like, you just can't bank on it. The injury list is not too horrible. We kind of know the squad we've got. I'm just hoping that by the spring, it starts to feel like it's clicking into place. Performances started ticking up by the time we're back. European competition starts again in March, and the performance is good enough that we're getting the results, and it gives us a chance in these two cup competitions that we can move up the table to mid-table safety and mediocrity or whatever it is, and we get a positive end so we can go into the summer. Hopefully, now that they've the stated strategy is to save as much money as possible for the summer window, that we do the right kind of business as early as possible. Ten Hag can have a nice long pre-season with his whole squad in place. We're not scrabbling around the transfer market come September the 3rd, and that he can have a real crack at a decent level of performance next season. That's the hope, right? Isn't it? That's kind of what we're like. It gets better and gets better, and we do the right business in the summer, and we can kick on next season. That's Absolutely. What we mean when we say we can't wait till the summer comes around.
Absolutely. And surely we're going to go on some type of run at some point. I don't know. I mean, I know maybe football doesn't work like this, but it just feels like surely we'll have 4 or 5 games where we might get a few wins, even if we get a couple of scrappy ones early. And maybe this is the start of something special, like today, where the late goal.
We've won 3 in the last 4. I mean,
I know you look at actually our games on paper, and you're looking what the hell? This doesn't feel right. We beat Fulham in that really lucky game. We beat Southampton in that really lucky game. We won that game against FCSB, formerly known as Steaua Bucharest.
I actually played all right in the second half in that one.
We did, but I mean, you look at Fulham are a decent team, but Southampton are terrible. Steaua in the Romanian league.
Rangers, we were kind of fortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Brighton, we were terrible. And then Brighton got smashed 7-0 the week after it. Yeah. I mean, on paper, it looks fine. And maybe this is the good run we're in at the moment, but you just see it on the pitch. And what do they say? Wins breed confidence, maybe. But I mean, we're not seeing it right now. And we've got Arsenal away in a couple of weeks. Maybe that will turn up with the same ferocity again. In that this team is clearly just in that mold that we have been for a while, where we can't dominate the smaller teams, and then when we play away against someone big, we're fine, or when we play at home against someone big, we're fine. I feel like we saw more patterns of play in Amarim's first game than we saw tonight. The switch of play, I remember in that first game was really, really excellent, and then there just doesn't seem to be that much.
I know he keeps. There were some better switches in the second half. At least, stops the horseshoe, doesn't it?
And that's what I also
slow passing back and forwards.
I was going to say this earlier. I wonder if that is what the inverted fullbacks are supposed to do to Dalot did.
Pitch.
Dalot did to Dorgu in the first half. I think Justin Thomas missed the ball, and that's why it went to Dorgu in the first place. But he did turned in with his right foot, smashed it over to the left, to the right wing back. Yeah, maybe that's it, but it's so few and far between because they get trapped in that corner. They can't turn because it's really easy to defend against, because the defender comes on the inside, so they can't turn on the inside, and the players aren't good enough on their weaker foot to turn around and spin them on the left side, so they can't get past them. So they just keep going back to the fullback. It's just very, very predictable at the moment. And yeah. Sorry, I think I cut you off.
No, that's quite all right. Spurs at the weekend. I mean, he's got 8 days now. It's next Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
There's not this weekend just coming. It's this will go out on Saturday. So we've got a full week of training in order to embed the system, and you hope we've had a couple of decent performances in January when he's had the full week in order to work on whatever they're working on, how an inverted fullback works. Still not quite sure how we managed to spend 30 million quid on a left wing back to play him on the right. But anyway, does this get better? I mean, Spurs are in sort of chaos mode at the moment. As of recording, Postecoglou has not been sacked. I did rather think of how pathetic they were against Liverpool. That might be the end.
Really?
Yeah. But they supported him. Like I know their net spend is not super high or anything like that. I mean, they live within their means, Spurs. That's been their philosophy for a long time. But they supported him with Matthias Tell loan. It's a very expensive loan deal with an option at the end of it. It's I don't know whether that worked for Spurs. He's a player who hasn't scored this season, so doesn't seem like an immediate fix. Plays in the same position as Son. Again, might have to juggle things around. And they're not in a good state. Are we going there like hoping to take advantage of their super high line and their like inconsistencies?
I think it's just the two teams who are just tactically awful at the moment, to be honest. Like, I mean, you can't say that we're tactically competent. And Spurs are just like we were a little bit under Ten Hag, complete chaos ball. Like the way that teams, I mean, even yesterday when Tottenham were playing a little bit less, that's the way we are made football. Like they were actually defending a little bit more. They were playing with a little bit of a deeper line, but they were just carved through so simply. Like Szoboszlai's goal, the third one, like it was just so easy the way they were carved through. And obviously Liverpool play really nice football, but defensively they're just shocking. And no wonder they kind of play this really high line, really, really attacking football, because Ange clearly can't teach a team how to defend. And
apparently not, no.
And I think this is kind of the game that would completely suit us, to be honest, because I mean, well, because Spurs are bad mainly. Like they're pretty blunt in attack, they're pretty open at the back, and they don't really have great pressing patterns. They're quite unorganized just in general. So therefore, you think against teams like that, then maybe we should be able to cut through them quite easily. But then, having said that, Leicester are exactly the same. Like Leicester haven't got great pressing patterns. They're not particularly disciplined. They have Jordan Ayew still up top, who's like 55 or something. Can't believe he's still playing for them in the Premier League. And we still weren't able to cut through them. But at least we're away from home, and we're a better away from home. So we have that to offer. I mean, you never know. Like both teams, like Spurs can turn up at times. They at times they look.
They have been in the Europa League. They've got some good results in the Europa League. Yeah,
and they beat Brentford away at the weekend, and Brentford have got really good home form. So you never know. But you also never know about United. Like, I'm surprised that Angie's still there, considering like everything that's gone wrong at that football club. They're actually below us in the Premier League as well, which is crazy. Yeah,
amazingly. Yeah, nice bloke, mate. But
mate.
Look, mate. I am what I am, mate. No, not bothered, mate.
Is it Finding Nemo where they had all those like seagulls that used to just go, mate? Literally him.
Oh dear. It's I do wonder whether we'll get the patterns we've seen in these difficult games away from home, where United are able to kind of revert to playing counter-attacking football, which is clearly a style that more of the players are comfortable with. Mm-hmm. Not surprising after having 2 years of those sort of counter-attacking patterns driven in by Ten Hag. I'd say Oli did the same, but there aren't many players left from the Oli regime, really.
That's true, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just Ten Hag signed so many players. I think in the fullness of time, we'll look back on the Ten Hag era as being completely disastrous for the club. Set the club back 5 years, but
really,
clearly, like these players are more comfortable playing counter-attacking football. It's a little hard to say that's necessarily how it'll shape up against Spurs, though. I mean, are we saying that Spurs will be able to retain possession and then we'll break on them? Because I don't really know that's how they play either. I mean, I guess we're looking at that high line and can we exploit it with our quicker players? Like if he, for example, Amra's 2-man at the moment, but if it's Mainu and Xerxes and Diallo up front, little slow, can't really take advantage of all that space. So I do worry a little bit with that one, what he'll pick, because that's the way to exploit Spurs, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Just the pattern is not going to be the same as the City, Liverpool and Arsenal games, which are some of our best performances recently.
Spurs is just chaos ball, isn't it? Like, it's the reason why they're probably the most exciting team to watch in the Premier League, because like it's just completely mental. Like their games are just crazy. It could be like, what was it against Chelsea? They were 2-0 up and they lost 5-2, 5-3 or something. Like you have no idea what to expect. They're just going to be complete. I feel like they're probably going to go full Wange ball in this game. Like just be completely open, be completely crazy, just like super attacking, like not really caring about the defense. But they're not, like you say, they're not a team that really retain possession. They just feel like they try and get the ball quickly, as forward as quickly as possible, and then like just move their whole team really far up the pitch immediately, and then get the counter attack like really quickly as well. Like the turnover, it's like watching a basketball game. The turnovers in a Spurs game are just mad, and because they shift their team so far forward almost immediately in attack, they don't. And they also don't press either in that.
I know you can't have both of those. You can't have a high defensive line, which is, the first point of contact, right? That's high defensive line is being right high up the pitch and not pressed properly. I mean, Ten Hag suffered for that. Exactly. Then his fix was you drop back into a deep block as quickly as possible. And so he had the big donut in midfield. Like we've gone from the donut to the horseshoe. It's great. I think
that's what Spurs are in at the moment as well, because they're trying to sort out that defense a little bit more and defend a little bit deeper, like they did at Liverpool, but just left massive gaps in midfield. And you think on paper there's a lot to exploit there. It's just, like you say, there's no idea what type of team that Amorim will play in this game.
Well, if we lose to Spurs and West Ham and Everton win at the weekend, we will be down in 16th place. I mean, it's amazing. I was just looking at the table here. Yep. If Everton win, they have a better goal difference than us. West Ham don't.
How have Everton got a better goal difference?
I know. I mean, it's a completely false narrative. It doesn't really mean anything other than it would only be Wolves, let's say Ipswich and Southampton that are worse than us in the division, which is quite amazing. This is what it's come to: £3.2 billion spent in the last 10 years on net transfers and wages for this. All right. Before we go, a plug for The Lost Tapes, which is our series I've been doing with Wayne Barton and Patrick Barkley on sort of moments in time from United's history. Episode 1 on Cantona, episode 2 on the rivalry with Arsenal in the late 90s, early noughties, and then episode 3 is on Michael Knighton's attempt to buy the club in 1989. What a sliding doors moment that was. If he'd managed to pull it off, it was unclear whether he actually had the money. It seems like he did, and then because of the bad publicity, it all kind of collapsed because it was taking so long and his backers were with him and then they weren't, and so on and so on. Anyway, it's a fascinating episode. Find it on The Lost Tapes, Manchester United, The Lost Tapes, wherever you get your podcasts, if you want a bit of nostalgia porn. Because we all need something, don't we?
Oh my God, yes.
All right, Tom, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Listeners, viewers, wherever you are, have a great weekend. We did win a game. We're in the 4th round of the FA Cup, Tom. Yes. Get in.
I mean, to be fair, that's what I was like at the end, to be fair. So, yes.
Yeah.
Come on.
I know. I couldn't. Actually, I had a moment of, yes, get in. And then I kind of flipped over to resigned cynicism quite quickly after that.
Yeah.
I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, sorry, I know we've literally just wrapped up, but even the celebration at the end, I was like, in my head, I was like, I get why you're all celebrating so hard, but like,
Of course, won a game.
yes,
but
in my head, I was like, I was quite celebration policing.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everyone.